Have you ever heard of the tongue twister? She sells seashells by the seashore. Well, what if I told you the woman who inspired it did so much more than just sell shells? She completely changed our understanding of the planet's history, uncovering monsters from a lost world, all while facing incredible hardship. Today we're digging into the incredible and often overlooked story of Mary Anning, the greatest fossil hunter you've probably never heard of, born in 1799 in the small coastal town of Lyme Regis, England. Mary Anning's life was anything but ordinary from the very start. Her family was poor, part of a religious minority, and tragedy seemed to follow them. Of 9 or 10 children, only Mary and her older brother Joseph survived to adulthood. In fact, Mary herself had a brush with death as a baby. As the story goes, she was being held by a neighbor under a tree when lightning struck, tragically killing the neighbor and 2 others. Little Mary, however, survived. Some in the town even said the jolt had transformed her from a sickly baby into a bright and curious child. Little did they know just how bright she would become. Lyme Regis wasn't just any seaside town. Its crumbling cliffs, part of what we now call the Jurassic Coast, were a treasure trove of strange, stony objects. The locals called them curios, we call them fossils. Mary's father, a cabinet maker by trade, supplemented his meager income by finding and selling these curios to the tourists who flocked to the coast. From a very young age, he took Mary and Joseph with him on his fossil hunting expeditions. He taught them how to spot the telltale shapes in the rock, how to carefully chip away the stone, and how to identify different ammonites and belemnites, the spiral and bullet-shaped fossils common in the area. This wasn't just a hobby. For the Annings, it was a matter of survival. When her father died tragically from a fall when Mary was just 11, the family was left in debt and with no source of income. That fossil hunting side hustle was about to become Mary's full-time profession and her life's calling. At just 12 years old, Mary made her first major discovery. Her brother Joseph had found a strange 4-foot-long skull a year earlier, and Mary, with relentless determination, went back to the cliffs day after day, searching for the rest of the skeleton. After months of searching, a storm eroded the cliffside, revealing the rest of the creature. It was a 17-foot-long monster with a long snout and a terrifying set of teeth. At the time, no one had ever seen anything like it. People thought it might be a crocodile, but as scientists studied it, they realized it was something entirely new, an extinct marine reptile. They named it ichthyosaurus, meaning fish lizard. The sale of this incredible specimen for £23, a huge sum at the time, not only saved her family from starvation but also put the name Mary Anning on the map within the small but growing community of geologists and fossil collectors. But the ichthyosaurus was just the beginning. Mary had an uncanny ability, an eye for spotting fossils that others missed. She spent her days scouring the treacherous, landslide-prone cliffs of Lyme Regis, often with her little dog Tray as her only companion. She taught herself geology, anatomy, and scientific illustration. She would meticulously clean and prepare her finds, often spending months carefully chipping away rock to reveal the delicate bones within. Her skill was so renowned that wealthy collectors and fledgling scientists began traveling to her small, unassuming shop, Anning's Fossil Depot, to purchase her specimens and to learn from her. In 1823, Mary made another groundbreaking discovery. She unearthed the first complete skeleton of a plesiosaurus. This creature was even stranger than the ichthyosaur. It had an incredibly long snake-like neck, a small head, a turtle-like body, and 4 large paddles. When the skeleton was presented to the Geological Society of London, it was so bizarre that some members accused her of forgery, claiming she had stuck the head of one animal onto the body of another. The famous French anatomist Georges Cuvier was initially skeptical, but after carefully examining Mary's detailed drawings, he had to admit it was a genuine, single creature. This discovery cemented Mary's reputation as a fossil hunter of extraordinary talent. It was another nail in the coffin for the idea that species were fixed and unchanging, providing powerful evidence for the then radical theory of extinction. 5 years later, in 1828, Mary struck gold again. She discovered Britain's first ever pterosaur skeleton, a flying reptile often called a pterodactyl. Unlike the giant marine reptiles, this was a creature of the air. This find was incredibly significant because it showed that the prehistoric world was populated by a diverse range of reptiles that dominated the land, the sea, and the sky. She also made important discoveries about less glamorous but equally important fossils. She was the one who realized that the strange, lumpy stones known as bezoar stones were actually fossilized feces, which she named coprolites. This might sound a bit gross, but it was a revolutionary idea. By studying the contents of these coprolites, scientists could figure out what these ancient creatures ate, giving us an unprecedented glimpse into the prehistoric food web. Despite her incredible contributions, Mary Anning faced constant struggle. As a woman from a poor working-class background, she was an outsider in the scientific community, which was dominated by wealthy Anglican gentlemen. The scientists who bought her fossils would travel to London, present her discoveries as their own at prestigious meetings of the Geological Society, and publish papers about them, often without even mentioning her name. She did the dangerous back-breaking work of finding and excavating the fossils, and she had the knowledge to understand them, but she rarely received the credit. She once wrote in a letter, "The world has used me so unkindly, I fear it has made me suspicious of everyone." It's a heartbreaking sentiment from someone who gave so much to science. She was barred from joining the Geological Society of London simply because she was a woman. She couldn't publish her own scientific papers or formally participate in the scientific debates of the day, even though her discoveries were the very subject of those debates. Yet she persevered. She corresponded with the top geologists of her time, like William Buckland and Henry de la Becque, who, to their credit, did respect her expertise. Even if they didn't always give her public credit, they would visit her in Lyme Regis, walk the cliffs with her, and treat her as an intellectual peer in private, seeking her opinion on their own finds. A famous drawing from the era, Duria Antiquae or Amor, Ancient Dorset, was created by Henry de la Becque based almost entirely on Mary's finds. It was the first pictorial representation of a prehistoric ecosystem, and sales of its prints were given to Mary to help her financially. Tragically, Mary's life was cut short. She was diagnosed with breast cancer and passed away in 1847 at the age of just 47. By this time, her contributions, while not fully celebrated, were at least recognized. The Geological Society, the same one that wouldn't admit her as a member, paid for her funeral and even published a eulogy for her in its quarterly journal, an honor never before bestowed upon a woman. It was a sign of the immense respect she had earned, despite the barriers she faced. Today, Mary Anning's legacy is finally getting the recognition it deserves. Her discoveries are housed in natural history museums around the world, including the stunning specimens in London's Natural History Museum. She is no longer just the anonymous she in a children's tongue twister. She is recognized as a pioneer of paleontology, a woman whose courage, intelligence, and relentless curiosity helped shape our understanding of life on Earth. Her story is a powerful reminder that great discoveries can come from anyone, regardless of their gender, class, or education. She was a true force of nature, unearthing the secrets of a lost world one fossil at a time. So the next time you visit a museum and gaze up at the skeleton of an ichthyosaur or a plesiosaur, remember the young woman who risked her life on crumbling cliffs to bring those ancient giants into the light. Remember Mary Anning. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed learning about Mary Anning, please hit that like button, subscribe for more stories about incredible figures from history, and let me know in the comments which unsung hero you think we should talk about next. See you in the next video.